pastor who graciously drove Maria 1 hour and 40 minutes.
Just my taxi driver.
Taxi driver. Let's all welcome Sam.
Thank you for such a warm welcome. So, basically, it's as Pastor Josh just said, my seminar, or what I'm going to talk about, is just about really trying to embrace God's call to lead and serve in His mission. So, I'm just going to introduce myself a little bit more detailed. So, my name is Maria. I'm 22 years old. So, I'm currently trying to become a teacher. So, I'm just doing a psychology minor right now. But I did get my biology research degree at McMaster University, where I was part of KCF. So, basically, I'll just explain a little bit about my own history with Christianity and the church. So I was born into a church organization called UBF. So our title is University Bible Fellowship, which basically means that all of our parents were missionaries, and that was their calling, to serve in the mission field as Indian missionaries, where they worked their own jobs, but also served campus students and tried to evangelize on university campuses. So we have a lot of different chapters and churches around the world. It's a global organization. So I would say because of that, our parents were very busy serving campus students, serving our church. So I felt like my personal relationship with God actually did not really begin until I entered university. And I know some of you have not gotten to that stage yet, but university is a really transitional period. So I find that that's when actually a lot of students do end up either meeting Christ or really struggling in their faith. And for me, I had both the struggle and the success at the end, I guess. So basically, my personality type, I'm sure you guys all know Myers Briggs personality types, but I'm very T and J, which means I'm very logical and I like to think things through, as much as my brother might argue against that. But I really do like to think things through, and I really like to explain it to myself, and I really had a lot of pride in my own knowledge and in my own understanding. So I guess that's why I really struggled with God, because He was so mysterious. There were so many unanswered questions, and I felt like I couldn't understand Him, and therefore I couldn't truly connect with Him in that sense. And that changed when I did join KCF, which is a Korean Christian Fellowship. It's a club on campus, and there should be KCFs all across different Ontario's campuses. So think about joining it if you are not in university yet. But basically, when I joined KCF, I met a mentor and discipler, and she basically really taught me to develop consistency with God and really use daily bread, use like a saturation in His Word to truly just force myself, in a sense, to know God, and eventually and unwillingly, I didn't expect this, but it ended up leading to me loving Him more, which led to me wanting to know Him more, and just ended up in this cycle, a very beautiful cycle, where I ended up growing this relationship with God, and I didn't even plan for that to happen. And so that was kind of what drew me closer to KCF and why I decided to join the leadership team. Also, I will say, KCF, like, it's Korean Christians, and I didn't have a lot of experience with Koreans before, so because from where I came from, it was predominantly very Caucasian people. So then when I did join KCF, I was very intimidated. There was a lot of these like cool Korean Christian kids, and I didn't grow up in a big Korean church like you guys did, or maybe you guys did. So I was very daunted when I saw all these like leaders and people in executive positions, and they're very cool and they had a lot of influence. And so when I saw that, I was like, yeah, that's what I want to be. So then I joined the leadership team, and with this newfound confidence and faith, but also because I did want to become one of these people that I admired so much. And so then that's where kind of my difficulty with KCF began, my difficulty in KCF began, because I realized it was not what it seemed. It was a great disillusionment, because I realized that all these leaders that I viewed as these amazing Christian leaders who who were great representatives and warriors of faith, they actually turned out to not be living the life that I had expected them to be living. And they were just human, and they were sinners just like I was, but I just had put them on this pedestal, so I didn't expect this to be the case. And then I guess I was also very discouraged because we struggled a lot with membership. We just had very few people coming out to our meetings when I was in second and third year, when I was on leadership team, compared to when I was in first year, when we had a lot of people coming out. And I mean, technically it started when I was on leadership, so I hope it wasn't because of me, but like it was very disappointing and it was very disencouraging, I think. And so all of that really made it very difficult in my time serving on KCF. And so then this eventually led to me in my fourth year, and I had the decision of whether to accept the co-presidency or not. And this was difficult because I was very burnt out and I just couldn't see. A lot of the reasons why I was serving was for selfish purposes and for my own self and my own pride. So obviously if it wasn't serving that purpose, then I had a lot of difficulty saying yes to this position, because so far it didn't seem like it was turning up anything. And so then I asked God for a sign actually that summer if this was something I really wanted to do, and to really show me and put it in my heart that this is something that I should be doing. And so then God actually spoke to me at because it's a global organization, we have an international conference every 4 or 5 years. So it's called ISBC, International Summer Bible Conference. And so then in that conference, I actually asked him before attending, I asked him to answer 2 of my prayer topics. One, to help me rekindle my desire for him and his mission and apply to KCF, and 2, to really help me appreciate and learn from all the different churches and people he worked through in UBF. And actually, I just said it randomly one day when I was at the gym, and I just said, like, God, I think I need direction and I need help. And I just gave these 2 prayer topics up to him. But then, amazingly, and in God's abundant mercy and grace, he actually did answer it, because I've never felt so moved being at a conference before, but when I listened to this testimony of this woman named Sarah Lakopa from Czech Republic, I truly felt God speaking to me. He told me about the importance of one sheep and how it's not about how many people we were bringing into his community. It was really about just that one life, saving even one life. To our own lives, to our own selves, one life, our own life is so important. So I cannot imagine how God views each of his children. To each one, it's one precious life. And I just truly understood what that meant, and why God went, and he was a shepherd and he searched for that one sheep amongst that 100 sheep. He searched for that one lost one, and how he left his 99 to go search for that one sheep. It's about the compassion and desperation of trying to find that one lost life, and that importance of just even one person that I really understood and felt and had my heart moved from that conference. So then that is why I did end up continuing being president in my fourth year, co-president I should say. But then it was really just a very blessed time, because unlike before when I tried to glamorize KCF and I tried to make it really just appealing to other people, that year I really decided to focus on the root of why we were here, to love and know him more. And that's what drew me actually to KCF. So I was like, why was this not what I was doing before? And actually, in his infinite grace, God blessed us abundantly. Not only did our membership grow, but also I found that I was able to connect with the younger years who were still finding their relationship with Christ. And it was like all those years of planting that dry harvest really prepared me for this. And I realized the only thing that was stopping me from being able to do God's mission in the role that he placed me in was my own pride, because actually his harvest was plenty and it was right there. And so just to reflect on those years of being KCF, I really see that it was God's great love for me, that I am able to serve, and that I don't want to do it out of duty and pride, or to be recognized as a good leader, but I really just want to do it because I really find my worth in being his sheep, his one lost sheep that he saved. So that's kind of my reflection of serving in KCF. But actually, I feel like I actually only got baptized recently, in the most recent May, and it's because even though I had a relationship with God, I don't think I had truly turned my life around and fully turned myself away from sin and from that old life until that time. And what actually caused me to really have that moment of meeting Christ personally and really truly for the first time was actually after I entered into my first relationship. I know, very typical, but I started dating someone for the first time, and this was a huge thing for me because for the longest time I never wanted to date anyone because I always thought I was too good for that and whatever. And so then, but because of my pride, I found out this good-looking guy was interested in me, and then so we started dating. And during that time I did try to make it Christ-centered. I tried to, but in fact, I think I was really just doing it out of my own pride and thinking that I could push this relationship in a way that was outside of God's plan, and I really was doing it out of my own desire. So then, what really affected me a lot was during our KCF retreat in 2024, God asked me through actually Pastor Josh Ho during our during Overflow, that retreat. He said, "Can you give up everything for Him? Can you?" And to me, I was hearing God ask, "Can you give up everything for me?" And actually, my New Year's key verse that year was Colossians 3:23-24. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. And for me, I really struggled with that because I had this relationship and I knew it was not God-pleasing. But because of my pride, I was only able to say, no, I can't give up everything for Him because I couldn't give up this relationship. And so I really felt like I was separated from God during this time. And you know how in when Christ was on that cross and He was crying out to God, and he was separated and severed from God, and so He was crying out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And you really feel that pain and anguish through those words, right? I think that when I think back on those times, when I was really struggling with being severed away and separated from God, and I felt that loneliness and I felt that lostness, I could really feel that anguish and that pain, and maybe like a millionth of what Jesus was going through, but still I could feel that pain because being separated from God was the worst thing that could possibly anyone could possibly go through, and I was living that every day. And so then at a certain point it just got too hard, like I couldn't handle this anymore. That separation from God was too painful, and so in a moment of desperation, I prayed randomly again, just God, can you do what I can't do, and can you work in a way that I won't have the strength to? And basically, a week later, randomly, my ex-boyfriend just said, I can't live up to what you want me to live up to, because I used to pressure him a lot about being Christian and our relationship. And so then we just broke up like that, and it was very quick and unexpected. But the amazing thing is that in the midst of all this hurt and sadness over the end of my first relationship, the first thing I actually felt was relief, and as if this great rock I was carrying disappeared. And even though I stumbled a lot trying to get there, I'm so thankful for this pain because it was nothing compared to the pain of being separated from God, and nothing compared to the joy and peace that I live with now, that I walk with Him again. So basically that is kind of how I became born again and where I am kind of in terms of my faith now. So after being born again, I was really lost. I really had my identity rooted as not only being a Christian, but being a Christian leader and like serving in KCF. That was 4 years of my life. And suddenly I was graduated, I had finished I was out of this relationship that had caused me to really stumble. And I just felt a lot of shame, and I just felt a lot of like lostness in terms of where God wanted me, and I just couldn't go to my old community again with this like pride of a leader that I had before when I was serving. And so this was actually exactly when I was asked to go on this mission trip to Sri Lanka that was organized by our church. And I know you guys have been to White Dog, if I heard correctly from Josh, and he said that was an amazing trip. But I remember when he was telling me about that mission trip, I was just like, okay, Josh, like, yeah, okay. But like I just didn't have a great opinion about short-term mission trips because I thought it was from my own insecurities, I thought it was self-exalting, and I thought it was very just something kids did to write on their resume, which is not true. Could be true, but not usually, I think. But then I just felt the timing was really impeccable because it was exactly when like I was going through all those moments of change, and then I had just read a book on Sri Lanka, and it felt like God was really asking me to this time say yes, because before when I was asked to go on different mission trips, I would always turn it down, but this time my heart had opened up and I said yes. And so the thing about Sri Lanka is that I had, even though I read a book about it, I didn't know the spiritual state of Sri Lanka. And so when I first arrived, it was truly shocking. I saw these gold Buddhist statues as soon as you arrive, and they're humongous. They're bigger than any statue you really see in Canada. And it was so shocking to see religious statues just everywhere because Canada is so secular. But then when you look closely at the statues, even though they were gold and they were large and very flashy, in essence, actually, if you look closely, it really shows the spiritual state of the nation because the gold was peeling off and the streets were actually very run down. There was a homeless elderly just on the street, and there was nobody looking out for them, and there was military guns and men with just like a lot of fear and a lot of like, I don't know how to describe it, but it was just a very shocking time entering that country. And then as the days went on, I just really had a very emotionally, physically, and spiritually difficult time because there was such a barrage of idol worshiping and poverty and ignorance there. We went to the Kangarama temple, and it was so much gluttony of materialistic things, and it just felt like the evil presence was there. And when we went to this mosque, this huge mosque that's very popular there, instead of feeling that palpable work of Satan that we felt in the Buddhist temple, this time it just felt empty because there was these men who were diligently bowing over and over again in this empty room, and it just felt so empty, like there was no spiritual presence there at all. And so it was very spiritually disheartening to see as well. We also, when we were volunteering at an orphanage, the Salvation Army orphanage, which is Christian rooted, and it was just very heartbreaking to see kids who were really pure and bright and just open-hearted, and to see their living conditions and to see their life circumstance, but then to see them still so joyful and grateful to serve God, and to be singing those Christian worship songs for kids that I usually saw kids in our own church just singing it out of habit, but they were really singing, you could really see the sincerity of what they were singing. And so we also went to campuses and evangelized, since that is our church's main focus. And I think this was the last kind of thing that really like kind of knocked me over the edge during that time, was just because of these university students are truly the nicest. Sri Lanka has such an open culture that these university students were so open to hearing about the Bible, but they've never heard of the gospel before. They don't know who Jesus Christ is at all. I'm pretty sure it's like almost a 90% Buddhist country, so they really have no interaction with Christ. They didn't even get that opportunity that so many of us were blessed with, and so that was just also very heartbreaking. And I think just generally when we were just surrounded by all of this, it was so emotionally and spiritually draining that a lot of us would cry during our morning prayer meeting, even though a lot of us weren't the emotional type. I can speak for myself, but it just seeing the darkness they lived in really reminded me of the darkness that I had lived in before meeting Christ, and I just it made my heart go out to them. So after one morning prayer meeting, I decided that I couldn't live in this darkness anymore with them. I had to break out, and I had to spread that joy that God had gave me, and really tell people about this living hope and let them taste Jesus, that they've never probably had that taste of anything comparable before. So afterwards, I had the opportunity to actually share the gospel on campus to this girl named Willomi, and she was actually very open to it, and I'm still in contact with her now. And it really just reminds me that it wasn't through anything that I could have done. It wasn't anything that any of my talents, any of my abilities, or anything that I could have changed this girl's heart. I could have changed her direction in life to serve God. Like, there's nothing I could have done except for the fact that I just decided to be willing to share. I knew that this was what God wanted, and so I just decided that I was willing, and God did the rest. And I really think that what I learned was having faith in God really requires action, because even if we don't truly believe it, if we don't think it will happen, we believe in God, and I had faith that God could do something. So I decided just to put my feet forward with, instead of my head knowledge or what my head was saying. And Isaiah 55:11 really spoke to me. It says, "So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it." I think that's just a very confident verse. It just ensues a lot of confidence within me. And so essentially, overall though, I would say what that mission trip taught me was that I think James 4:14 actually says it best. It says, "Why, you do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes." When I look back on my life so far, I've been through ups and downs, and times when I thought I was living the best of my life, and times when I thought I was at the worst. And that just really showed to me how fickle human nature is, and how pathetic I can be, and just how nothing in my life is for sure, and nothing is stable, except for the one thing, which is the amazing and merciful nature of God that really has shown its consistency throughout. And even at the best of time and at the worst of time, God was there. Mm-hmm. And so when I really think about it, I really question who am I that God continues to hear my prayers, that He continues to give me life direction, and I can't come up with anything except for that God loves me, and that He does, and that is what He does, that He gives me these things and He answers my prayers. So I know that pride is my biggest struggle, but I've now come to truly realize that my life is worthless without God's love and firm handling and direction in my life. So I recently read Acts 20:24 during my daily devotions, and it reminded me that it says, "However, I consider my life worth nothing to me. My only aim is to finish the race and complete the task the Lord Jesus has given me, the task of testifying to the good news of God's grace." And I think to kind of come to a conclusion just on this reflection and on this seminar, but also on a reflection of my life, was that I really do think that my life has no meaning other than to serve in His purpose, and I truly find that is where the greatest of joy can come from. Mm-hmm. And so actually recently, while I was on that mission trip, somebody asked me to join the committee for our church's North America Young Adults Conference with Belize, Mexico, US, and Canada. And they actually had nobody from Canada because, I don't know why, but I think it was God's calling, because they needed a Canadian representative, and at that time I was searching for a new place to serve, a new mission field to serve. And so I offered my services, and they were very glad to allow me to be part of their team. And so at this point, that is where I hope to serve for the next year. But eventually eventually I'd like to use my future career as a teacher and in the summers I would like to serve in short-term mission trips, eventually and hopefully serving in his long-term mission field in the future. I would really feel blessed to be able to go and witness his glory and witness his and be able to testify to his glory in a nation where they have not heard his name yet. And I think that would be my greatest joy in his life. So I just want to close by saying Romans 10:14-15 says, "How then can they call on the one they have not believed in? How can they believe in the one of whom they have not heard? And how can they hear without someone preaching to them? And how can anyone preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news." I personally have found no greater joy, no greater honor, and no greater blessing than living to serve the God that died for a wretched sinner like me. And so, in response to if God ever called me to go anywhere or do anything, then I can only joyfully accept and say, here I am, send me. So yeah, that's my seminar.
So we're going to go into a time of question